Lord, and hello, friends and family. Welcome to this edition of today's Truth Revealed. I am the host, Elder Gibbs. I'm so glad that you took a moment out of your day to give us a listen. Today, we are honored and pleased to have a returning guest and friend and brother in the Lord. We have no other than Brother Larry Mayo, who is the former president of the Institute on the Constitution. We'll get into why he is the former president of the Institute on the Constitution, and we'll get into some brand new things what he's involved with, and we'll let him do that announcing. But before we bring him on, let's go to the Lord in prayer. If you're all right with that, Brother Larry.
I'm
Let's
fine
go
with
to the
that.
Lord in prayer. All right. Father, we thank you for your goodness, mercy, and kindness. Lord, we just thank you for how you brought us together. We thank you for our fellowship and friendship. We pray and ask that you bless this recording, bless all those that tune in to hear. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen. Brother Larry,
Amen.
welcome. Welcome. How are you?
Well, good to be here. Nice to see you again, Isaac.
Sir?
Yeah, my status as former president of Institute on the Constitution is because Institute on the Constitution has merged with an organization started by one of our former vice presidents and instructors, Massey Campos. And he started a thing down in Florida called Self Evident Ministries, and has always been a friend of Institute on the Constitution and done some commentaries for us since he started his own thing and stuff. And basically, we are now part of his organization. It's the same website. You go to theamericanview.com, you go right to us. And if you go to the homepage, you'll go to his page. Um, it's exciting. I didn't realize it until I met Massey because he left before I even started taking the course back in the early 2000s. And when I met Massey, basically he's a Mexican version of me. So I'm totally comfortable with him being my boss now. Um, he has freed me up from all the administrative stuff. So now I can go out and do what I love, which is to teach and preach.
No, there you go. That's fantastic. Most people like to be on the ground, doing the paperwork and all of the
Uh,
administrative things. I ran a fence business, so I love just being out putting the fence in. I didn't like all of the
I hear you.
bidding and estimating and all of these things. So I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, that's wonderful. So nothing. You have a lot, a more focused responsibility now instead
Yes.
of being spread a little thin.
Yeah. Now
So
I
we
get to
get to talk to
actually
you.
I get to actually talk to folks like you. I get to help the instructors get better at their job and get better at mine. And as a result, I get to
Yeah,
go out and talk to people about the true history of our founding and our Constitution, and it's just wonderful.
that's fantastic. So every now and again, we'll have questions on the Constitution, and you're our guy. Because
Happy to
people
be
say a lot of things, and then especially politicians say a lot of things, and we promise you and I, we promise this is not a political thing. This is a constitutional talk
yeah,
tonight, and we're not gonna point fingers because that seems to be the thing. We just if our party's in charge, then we are silent at any criticisms. We don't mention anything. But when our party's not in charge, we are on the attack. We're very verbal with our criticisms. It's just amazing to me, who have been an independent for years, to see the shifts and back and forth. It's like, wow, when this other administration was involved with these problems, you said nothing. But now
right.
another administration opposite your party, so that's why we don't want to talk about party. We want to talk
Yeah.
Constitution. I got to
Oh,
get
it's
one
only the
thing.
other
Go ahead.
guys that ignore the Constitution. Yeah. Doesn't matter which
exactly.
side you're on, it's the other guys that do that.
Exactly. It's always the other guy's fault, right?
Right.
So I'm just like, I look and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. It's always somebody else's fault. That's our human nature.
Yes, it
That's
is.
our human
Yes, it
nature.
is.
So we're gonna raise above that tonight and look at just what the Constitution. I got a guy probably once, not once a week, maybe every other week. He comes in my office at work and he says, "You watch and see. This 47 is going to try to run for a third term. Watch and see what I tell you." I know that may be minute to you, but let's get that out of the way first. That's the inquiring minds want to know that. Can he run for a third term? Will he try? Is there any loopholes that give him this power to run for a third term?
No. And to do it lawfully, he probably should have started uh, before he even got sworn in, um, trying to get an amendment passed and ratified. And the fastest one I know of that got ratified was one to become 18 to vote, and that was done in 18 months. So, I mean, technically it could be done, but do you think there are 50 legislators or 37 state legislatures out there that would ratify that constitution by the time the election rolls around? I don't think it's possible.
No,
And that's the only
no.
way you can do it. There are no other loopholes.
So the process would have had to begun already
Yeah, the Congress
if
would
he was.
already have to be debating the amendment and getting ready to
Yeah,
pass it by 2/3 in both houses. And
gotcha.
you're not going to get 2/3 in the Senate, no matter what it is, if it's partisan at all, or even thought to be partisan at all.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I can tell him to please stop coming in my office with
Yeah,
nonsense. Okay.
tell him to come back
All
after
right.
after he announces his run for the third term.
Well, it doesn't help that of course he's a Hollywood guy,
Right,
so they know how to say things to get us talking about it
right.
and gets everybody all up in arms. And when they ask him, he's just mentioning it, and then people, you heard that? He's running. You heard that? He's gonna run. So
Yep.
I'm not saying that I love everything he's done, but I'm just saying that I know when it's not when he's talking, everything's not
I
serious.
think
So
everybody who criticizes and all those who defend him need to read his book, The Art of the Deal. And once you've read that, you'll understand that not everything he says is what he's looking for. He
exactly.
always starts with the most extreme case
Yep.
so that he can get what he actually wants. You know?
So let me ask, because these are not necessarily. I'm not on, one feeling or another about this. I don't know how I feel about some things, but constitutionally speaking, a lot of people have criticized the fact that he has the House, he has the Senate. Why so many executive orders? Why and it's a fast track to get things done. I get it, but if you have the control of these things, why not vote these things in? Is that, you know, some things are not a violation in the Constitution, but is it stretching the power of it a
Right.
little bit? Is there challenging the authority in there a little bit?
Well, the key thing to remember constitutionally, an executive order is a legal document and it's lawful, but it only can um, it's like a memo for the executive branch on how to implement a law that has been passed by Congress. Okay, it cannot expand the law, it cannot contract the law. It's simply how is it going to be implemented. Um, Over the past probably, I don't know, at least the past 30 or 40 years, the Congress has pretty much let presidents do a lot of stuff through executive order that they have no business doing and greatly expanded the power of the presidency as a result. And it's just become accepted by us. the people because we don't know any different. So I again see his executive orders as a tool, whether they're legitimate or not. He puts them out there. It starts a conversation. Maybe the Congress will act on it, and eventually it becomes a law. Or maybe it goes to a court, and the court, you know, changes the opinion of the people, and then the people are behind them. Or I think it's a tool to him. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Well, it's definitely, it just makes you think because I do get it when you have a president, any president is sitting there and the opposite party is in the House or the Senate and they're just blocking everything and you can't get anything done in your mind or whatever and you feel it's important. I do get it in certain cases, but it just seemed like, well, actually Biden, the amount of and I'm not pointing fingers at Biden, but I'm just saying Biden, the amount of executive orders, everyone criticized it at the time, and rightfully so on day one. I don't know. I think he had like 40, but then this administration topped it. So it's like, well, this is just getting to be the norm here, I guess. And I never seen it this way like this. I never
Yeah.
seen it like
Well,
this.
initially, what I was paying attention to in the beginning, when Trump first took office, a lot of the executive orders that he put forth were rescinding Biden's executive orders, which that makes sense. I mean, whether Biden's were constitutional or not wasn't the question. It was they were there. Let's rescind them and go back to what was before Biden. Some of both of their executive orders have been just ridiculously unconstitutional, and but that's been the case for presidents long before those two. I mean, we're talking about the last two, but there's been unconstitutional executive orders probably since Adams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's it's just you don't know, it's just like I said, I've seen it before, like even Trump during his first term. I get it, man. He was having a rough time because everything he would say it was no. And also even not that I agree with everything, but Obama had the same issue. I think his second term is like it was like no, no, no.
And
And
that
he's like,
that, my friend, is actually the way it's supposed to be.
yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
don't need a
That
hundred
that
thousand
is the check,
laws.
right?
Yes, our government, our federal government especially, is limited in what it's supposed to be doing, and all of
Yeah,
it's listed in the Constitution. And to be honest with you, 90% of what our federal government does today is unconstitutional. Now, that doesn't mean
wow.
it shouldn't be done,
Yeah,
but lawfully, it shouldn't be done by the federal government. Some of it should
great point.
be being done by the church. Some of it should be being done by the states. Some of it should be being done by the local and county governments. And some of it probably just shouldn't be done at all.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
Hey, do you want to take a minute to explain the original thought in the Constitution, like the hierarchy that originally was supposed to be? And you explained that before, but I think people need to hear it again because
Sure.
you just brought up an interesting point about the power of the federal government.
Right.
I don't like big government, so
Well,
please
there's a,
explain that.
there's a few myths going out like that we have three co-equal branches of government. That's not true. We have three branches of government that have their own unique authority and power. And the way it was designed was the House of Representatives was supposed to represent the will of the people in general by their district. The Senate was supposed to represent the will of the state, the interest of the state. And the president was supposed to represent the interest of the nation to the rest of the world. If you read Article 2, the authorities of the president, there's not much in there about domestic um, programs or anything like that. It's all about foreign affairs, and ceremonies. Um, and today, it's like I don't know. One of the things that upsets me when I hear that the president is the most powerful man in the world. Well, he shouldn't be. He should be the most powerful man in foreign policy for the United States of America, which,
Yeah.
by the power of our nation today, does make him the most powerful man in the world because we have the most powerful military and we have the most influence. Although China's trying to take that position away from us and doing a good job of it. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, but
Yeah.
we rely way too much on the government's not there to do what we can't do for ourselves. That's not their
Yeah.
job. Their job is
Yep.
to secure our God given rights.
Yes.
That's it, to administer a
Yep.
justice system and protect our borders from invasion. That's basically their job.
Yeah. So we're going to get to the border, but you mentioned uh, domestic, and I thought about certain cities that have the president has sent the National Guard in, and this has become an issue. A lot of people say that goes against the Constitution to send the National Guard in. They're not for that. You have your local and your state and all of these things, and your local government's supposed to handle. So, what's the constitutionally, what should be going on there? And is there, I believe there's a loophole, but maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Well, there's a can of worms you're opening there.
Oh boy, sorry.
And it's that's okay. I love fishing and I like good worms. Um, it all starts with an unconstitutional act. Okay, we have what we call sanctuary cities and sanctuary states in this
Yeah,
country.
yeah,
Now, you have to look at who's in charge of immigration. Okay, now there's nothing specific in the Constitution that says who's in charge of immigration, and for a long time, the states, when they were trying to fill the states with people,
yeah,
were the ones in charge of immigration. But the federal government is tasked with having trying to think of the exact wording, but making sure that becoming a citizen is uniform throughout the 50 states. So you can say from that immigration is their job because you know it just makes more sense for them to be in charge of it than the state. So assuming that there's federal immigration law, when that law is violated, then it's the federal government's responsibility to administer the justice system and take care of those that violate those laws. Now, they're also constitutionally in charge of counterfeiting. Yet, I don't see a whole lot of states and cities saying, "Well, we're going to be a sanctuary city for counterfeiters." But the same rule of law applies as
applies.
applies for illegal immigration. If it's a
Yeah,
federal law that's being enforced, the states and counties and local municipalities are responsible for not interfering with the enforcement of those laws. In fact, in most cases, they enforce them themselves. The problem I see happening with not a, I mean, if you get beyond the sanctuary city problem, is that there are many cities who aren't even letting, let's say you arrest Juan Sanchez, who's from Guatemala or someplace, right? And he gets arrested for, let's say, um, drug possession. But there's a warrant out for him in Guatemala for child rape or in another state for something. the obligation of the law enforcement that arrested him for the minor drug charge is to, once that's been adjudicated, hand him over to whoever else he's got a warrant out for.
Yeah.
So the problem comes when these sanctuary cities not only don't notify the feds that they've got somebody who is wanted by them and handing them over to them in the jail where the public is perfectly safe, right? And they just let them out on the street. Well, then federal government, or if it was another state, maybe they would have to hire a private investigator because they have no jurisdiction there. But they're going to want him, right?
Yeah.
So then they have to go in and find him. And in the meantime, other people get swept up in it. Now, I don't agree 100% with either side on this. In fact, I disagree with both sides on a lot of it. But the problem goes to the root of having these unconstitutional sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. And I live in one. So I'm, and I'm friends with most of our legislators. So that might get me in trouble in some circles. But I don't care.
You
You
don't
got to
strike
speak
me as
truth, right? Even if
yeah.
they hang you upside down on a cross.
Yeah, we got to tell the truth no matter what.
That's it.
As best we know, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because yeah, but you're right, and then changing
And excuse me, I've been
terminology.
sick all week, so pardon me for coughing
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh, no problem. I hope you didn't get the bug that everybody's that 3 week long flu that people have been getting. It's been
Well, I
pretty rough
tested
up here.
negative for the flu, but so far it's been over a week. So
Oh wow. Yeah, yeah, we're taking so many we're upping our vitamin D and vitamin C right now. So
yes.
uh but uh but anyway, yeah. So yeah, I was talking about the terminology like changing like illegal alien to undocumented and all, it's like,
Yeah.
listen, you're entering in the country illegally. No one I don't know why people weren't more outraged for the past 4.5 years with what was going on. Just it was crazy, and then it started to come to a neighborhood near you, and we've had it upstate here in New York, where it was a big thing in a hotel up here where the owner was going to get more money from the government with these illegals
For
than he
hotel.
would from
Yeah.
who he had there, kick them all out with 1 day notice, put in
Right.
these illegals, and then now they're going to school, they're illegal. And first of all, what is the big issue with illegals? Why should we be so alarmed about that? Constitutionally speaking, why should we be so offended that they're coming into the country illegally so that people understand?
Well, I don't actually think the fact that they come in illegally is the issue as much as, and this even goes to our legal immigration, as we have allowed more people to come in than can assimilate. The great thing about America is it's the only country in the world where you can come from anywhere, believe anything, and become an American. You and I moved to France, we'll never become French. You and I moved to Guatemala, we'll never become Guatemalan. But
Absolutely.
they can move to America, assimilate into our culture, bring some of their own to flavor it by all
Yep.
means. I mean, I, I would hate to think what Philadelphia area was like when I lived there without the Italian community and the great food that they brought, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you knew their neighborhood because everybody had wrought iron railings in their front yards. And that
Yeah,
was
yeah,
beautiful, right?
yeah.
They weren't trying to get us to become Italian, you know. they may
They
not
just brought their own culture
accept
here.
us totally in some of their bars and restaurants, as ons, but we all got along fine. And I think what has happened, especially in the last 4 years, but it was 20 years in the making, where there was so much immigration that, I mean, you shouldn't have to press one to talk in English. That's our language. You know,
Yes.
I have a very good dear friend who's the first generation American Italian in her family. Her father came over shortly before she was born, and he forbade her from learning to speak Italian because he wanted her to become an American. And yet I
Wow.
can go to the beach here, certain beaches that I can't talk to the people because they don't speak English. Now, I don't know their status and I don't care about their status. If they're nice to me, I'm nice to them. If they're mean to me, I'm going to be mean to them. Well, not really. I'm going to be nice to them and walk away. But I want them all to become Americans and understand and love what America's truly about.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of the problem. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's part of the problem with coming in illegally. First of all, you don't pledge allegiance
Right.
to our flag. You don't learn anything about our history.
Nope.
And then you don't see the need. And I'm dealing with this upstate, even upstate New York. We deal with a company, and one of the workers is Hispanic. I don't know from where, and he's been here like 5 years. And I have to communicate through a phone to him what I want, and it
Right.
takes forever. And I'm saying to myself, you've been here this long and you're not learning English. What is your deal?
Yeah.
And I get it. It'd be hard for me to go to France and learn French, but if I live there, I'm gonna try and pick up,
At
the
least enough to
language.
converse.
Yeah. So, but 5, 6 years here, and the same. I go to a Mexican restaurant, which I love,
Right.
but I can't order because I can't communicate. Nobody speaks English in this particular restaurant. I'm like, and they're not even trying.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
a part of when you come in illegally, you don't know that you should learn this or learn that or what, just some basic things in our history. You don't have to be, a history professor or anything, but
Right.
at least learn some of the president's stories, some of the wars,
Well, honestly, I wish they would make all American born Americans take the test that you have to test, take to become an American citizen if you're from somewhere else. Because at least they'd understand that we live in a republic and not a democracy, that we have a constitution, and that it is the supreme law of the land,
Yeah,
and some of our history, you know. Now,
exactly.
unfortunately, most our native born Americans know less about America than those who came here willingly
Yeah,
recently.
yeah. No,
You
you're
know,
absolutely right. It's pretty sad. We're living in tough times, but so okay, we got to get to this. The mass deportations. Okay, ICE. First of all, I'm gonna say this, and this is not political, but there are clips you can go to YouTube and find where President Bill Clinton, and there's a clip with Barack Obama almost saying the exact same thing, saying how we got to get a hold of our border and we have to stop and we have to deport illegals, and they are going on and on and on. But somebody wants us to be divided against each other. So now it's an unpopular thing to deport illegals. Now, are some cases a little rough and there's no mercy and no sympathy and no humanity in these things. And I'm sure, and I know of one case in particular close to us. A guy was here working for 40 years, must have been illegal, never heard a fly, but like the second week of ICE being in, coming in this area, he was gone and
Right.
he was deported. And so that's not the violent criminal. That's
Yeah.
that was just a guy here. He's a tradesman. So constitutionally, is there a line that can get crossed? Are we crossing the line a little bit, or are we in full constitutional right to for most of these
Well,
mass deportations?
constitutionally, anybody who's here illegally can and probably should be deported,
Yeah,
regardless of their story. I mean, just
yeah,
let's take another law. One that I think is unconstitutional anyway, which is the income tax. If I evaded income taxes for 40 years, but other than that, I've been a great part of my community. I've done all the right thing. Does that mean I should go to jail any less than the guy next to me that evaded his taxes for 40 years and wasn't a good guy? No.
yeah,
The law is the law is the law is the law. And
yeah,
if you break
yeah,
it, you have to pay the consequences if you're caught. Now, the
yeah,
fact that he didn't get caught for 40 years, you know, doesn't make him any less guilty of breaking the law. That's all I'm saying.
yeah. No,
Now,
absolutely.
could the courts
I
have
agree with you.
mercy on that and give him? That's something the judge could do.
Yeah,
And I do believe that everybody does deserve due process.
yeah,
But due process is different when you're not under the jurisdiction thereof. Okay, if you are under the radar, you know, it's like being under the radar in the black market as far as taxes go, right? If you're under the radar as far as your legal status in the country, you are not under the jurisdiction of the government. And getting caught doesn't automatically put you under the jurisdiction of the government because you were not under their jurisdiction at the time of the crime.
wow,
So,
wow. Wow. All right, so I'm just gonna, I pretty much would can guess where you personally may stand, but we're talking constitutionally. Okay, ICE, they had another shooting the other night, I think last night. Uh, this one here, I don't know what really, the facts aren't really all out there yet. I
and
don't know for sure.
they won't be
Uh,
right away.
yeah.
That's one of
So,
the things we're all guilty of on both sides of the arguments. That the first thing we hear and what we see in one three
yeah,
second video becomes reality
yeah,
without any
yeah,
context. And,
yeah,
we jump to conclusions because it's our guy or it's not our guy.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
hard for us to change our mind on something once we've done that. And what we
yeah,
really should do is look at things and say, wow, I'd like to see the rest of that story before I make up my mind. We'd
exactly,
all be a lot
exactly,
better off.
exactly.
We wouldn't lose
Yeah. So,
friendships over stuff that is irrelevant to our friendship.
yeah, exactly. Facts are facts. It's I
They're a
always
funny
say
thing.
numbers don't lie, and you know, there's always something that we didn't know,
Yes.
and then that one little piece of evidence. But the big thing is, I mean, it's a lot of people. I'm just trying to be in the place of a lot of people right now. They're what they've said to me anyway is, wow, the Renee Good, the guy had time to get out of the way of the vehicle. Instead, he pulled his gun and shot, and she was unarmed, and all of these things. But on the other side, it said she used her vehicle to get after, to go after him with the
Right.
vehicle, and then so it's just
And
what's
why
right,
was
what's
he in
wrong.
front of the vehicle in the first place to stop her from leaving?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
it's a tough one. And they're all tough ones. I remember seeing a video, and I don't remember who it was or what the case revolved around, but there was one person who was the first video we saw was from in front, and the cops were telling him to put his hands up or something, and he didn't, and he ended up getting shot. And then a couple weeks later, a video came out from a camera from behind, and lo and behold, he didn't put his hands up because he had a gun in his hand behind his back.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was the one that ended up with the big hands up there and shoot thing. I think it was after that, and I don't think it was broadly advertised once that
Once that
video
came
came
out. Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Because it blew somebody's narrative. And you've got to
Yeah.
watch. I don't care what news channel you watch, whether you're on one side of an MSNBC freak, on the other side of Fox News freak. They
Yeah.
both show what they want to show you.
What they
Okay,
want to
and
show. Yeah. Yeah.
you've got to discern that neither one of them's telling you the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
No, neither one is telling the exact. So you're absolutely right. It's amazing to me that the somebody wants us to just do this constantly. They don't
Yes,
want unity. So
because
the constant division.
if we're fighting each other, we're too busy to
Yes,
see what they're stealing from us.
exactly, exactly. Because let me ask you this, it's all of the presidents, all of the administrations. If you really want to solve the illegal problem, what about these big corporations that hire them illegally? Hire them.
Yeah. What
What about
happened
that?
to that? They had a program. I don't remember whether it was under Bush or Clinton or who it was, but where they had some system where they could tell if you were hiring illegal immigrants and they were going to punish the corporation. Whatever happened with that? And that was a great
Nothing.
idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Problem is,
I
too
mean,
many politicians want illegal immigrants here for one reason or another. Some want them
yeah,
here because they want them to vote. Some want them here
yeah,
because they want cheap labor,
yeah.
and both are wrong.
It's all wrong. That's what, how about laws that will fight against that side of it? Because if you turn the faucet off of the income and all of these freebies that they're getting, if you turn that off, what do they come to other than the criminal? Get the
Yeah,
criminals out of the way.
right.
I mean, the street criminals,
Well, there
because
we
once
go
you break
back
the law,
to
you are a
following
criminal.
the Constitution. None,
Yeah,
none of
yeah.
none of our social programs are constitutionally authorized.
Wow.
One I like to talk about is the one I'm guilty of collecting from, Social Security. Okay, I don't
Yeah,
care what any court says. There is nothing in the Constitution that gives the federal government the authority to manage my money,
yeah,
and
yeah,
provide a retirement program for me. That's my job.
yeah,
That's my family's job. If we
yeah.
did a better job of teaching our kids how to save and invest, we wouldn't need a social security system. I ran the numbers one time on Social Security. If you made $30,000 a year your entire working life, you and put away the 15%, and rounded it off, the 15% that they take and your employer takes out of your pay, because believe it or not, that's part of your pay to him or her, you'd have $202,000 um, if you started at age 20 and pulled out the money in when you were 65. If you invested that in something that paid, I think it was 1.2% a year, you would have over $1 million to retire on. You wouldn't need Social Security if you had over $1 million in the bank to retire on, because you could live
Exactly.
on 25 or 30 or $40,000 a year, and the rest could be making interest.
Yeah.
So it's been a big Ponzi scheme from the begin with. If I started a investment firm and offered a program just like Social Security, I'd be in jail in 3 days.
Wow. You can't have it, but they can.
Right. And there is nothing that the government does that we don't have the authority to do ourselves. Because
Wow.
you got to remember, our government was founded on this premise: God created man, man created society, the people created the states, and the states created the federal government. And with each step down that ladder of creation, authority diminishes because we can't tell God what to do, can we? No.
Absolutely not.
So if we
We
created
can't
the
even
states,
advise.
right, we can try and we do, but it doesn't work too good.
I
So,
like to
so,
see that phone call. Hello,
so why
God.
are we letting our creation run amok over us?
Yeah.
Because we don't know it's our creation.
Wow. Knowledge is power.
It
Wow.
is indeed.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I was getting to earlier, actually, that hierarchy right there.
Yeah.
Because when you mentioned that before, I could never imagine that the states are actually really supposed to be over what government does.
Yes, they are the
That,
true arbiters of the Constitution. There is nothing
yeah,
in Article 3 of the U.S. Constitution that gives the Supreme Court the authority to determine if something the U.S. Congress does is constitutional or not.
wow.
That's hard to fathom, but it's not in there.
Yeah,
That's a power
yeah,
they gave themselves in 1803, I believe it was, in Marbury
wow.
versus Madison. And when you tell that to somebody who's pretty scholarly, a lot of lawyers, they're like, you're crazy. Hey, go look it up. Go what? Go read about it.
Yeah.
Read Article
I,
3. Find where it says that. It doesn't.
yeah, wow.
We
I
need to
think we
get more
just,
involved in our local and state politics and stop worrying about who the next president is.
yeah,
And we will be a better country if we fix our states first,
yeah.
because our states will stand in between us and the federal government when it does something unconstitutional, the way it was designed to be.
So let me ask you this along those lines. A president, is it too much authority that a president has? Like, if he doesn't agree with something in a state, I'm going to pull federal funding from you guys because you're not doing this or that or
Hey,
whatever.
if a president doesn't like something in a state, can he pull unconstitutional federal funding? Because the federal government has no authority to give the states money. Okay.
But this is
So
all
does
you
he have the
hear.
constitutional authority to do something with unconstitutional money? Good question. I don't know how to answer that.
Well, it's true. There's these federal contracts and all of these things. And oh no, we're not going to give you federal money for this, that, and the other. And
Right.
you're going to
Well,
pull
guess what?
this.
You know why the federal government gives your state money? To make them do something that they don't have the authority to tell them to do. If they had the
Wow,
authority to tell your state to do something, they would
they
just
would
do
do
it. Why would they
it.
pay them to do
Yeah,
it? Right?
yeah,
So every
yeah.
dollar that you receive from the federal government in your state budget is them buying state authority and putting it in the hands of the federal government. Our state legislators don't realize they have the authority over the federal government, not the other way around.
The way around. Incredible.
That's why every one of our legislators at the state level needs to, number one, read and study their own constitution and read and
Constitution,
study
yeah.
the U.S. Constitution. After all, they swear an oath before God to uphold and defend it. How the heck can you do it when they don't know what it says?
Don't know it. Yeah,
And that'd be like
absolutely.
me hiring somebody to be the pastor in my church who's never read the Bible. How's that going to
Might be a
work
little
out?
tough. Not too
But
well.
we do it because they look good, or they're the same. They
Yeah,
look like us, or they
he was
think like
nice.
us, or they're from our
Yeah,
hometown, or
yeah.
hey, my brother-in-law knows that guy personally, or man, she's cute. I'm going to vote for her. Yeah,
Yeah.
boom.
Yeah. And when you think about it, it is that silly, right? A little
Yeah,
bit.
it
It's
is.
like, wow.
Oh, and the worst
You
one
think,
is I'm going to vote for them, even though I don't agree with anything they're doing, because they're in the same party that I'm registered in.
Oh my God, that is a big pet peeve for me. It's like uh, I'm not running my mom down because I love my mom, but she was blue down to her toenails. She was
Uh-huh.
just blue, and there was no, it didn't matter. They could have shot people. She was gonna vote for them. If they were
Yeah,
blue, she was
yeah.
gonna vote, and that was it. That was
And you
what
ask
she was
people
gonna
why
do.
they're with one party or another, half of them say because my mom and dad were there.
Yeah.
Well, do you think the parties, either one of them, is the same as they were 50 years ago? No.
No, sure. Yeah, and then
The
you get
parties
some
don't even know
history.
what they stand for anymore.
Exactly,
You know,
exactly, and we got away from multiple parties, which what was intended actually. So, uh, we so now we have two parties, but some people say it's really we have one party, really, you
yeah,
know.
that's it.
But
We got a bird with two wings.
yeah, exactly. So it's just a pretend. It's like WWF wrestling. They're pretending to be enemies, and then behind the
Right.
curtain they're drinking
Then they go
beers
out
and
for a
say,
beer
"That
afterwards.
was a good one you came up with," you
Yeah.
know. All
Yeah, you
right, I
almost
got
really hurt me on that one.
yeah. Yeah, that was a little seemed like you were very serious about that. Were you serious? No, it was just part of the show.
Yeah.
I got one little question. Maybe you can. I don't know. What's your take? Okay, there's two questions. Sorry.
Okay.
All right, we'll deal with the first one. Uh, as we know, we've had a huge drug problem, and the president took to some of these drugs coming in through the border by waterways, and a couple of those ships that were said to be carrying drugs, they just blew them out of the water. Uh, Constitutionally okay to do that, or uh, am I
That is a
opening
tough.
another can?
That is a tough one. Um, the pot can't call the kettle black on this one because Congress is the only ones that can declare war. But the Congress hasn't declared war since 1941.
Hmm.
The War Powers Act is an unconstitutional act. Or it's extra constitutional at best. Um, the president does have the authority to negotiate treaties with foreign entities. Okay. And he is tasked with, and I mean, if you're realistic about it, Thomas Jefferson, and I was just watching a thing on this, and I never did get to the end of it before I got interrupted. But if you go back to the very first foreign war that America had was under Jefferson's administration with Barbary pirates, which is basically today the same people as the terrorists of 9/11 and the drug cartels. And he had things going on without Congress's consent. So it's a really tough one. I think if if our unconstitutional three-letter agencies weren't in the business of building the drug cartels 40 years ago, we wouldn't have this problem. And I mean, it all comes down to when do we follow the Constitution? All the time, or just when it matters to us?
Convenient. Yeah.
I mean, we've been unconstitutional for so long that 90%, if not 100% of our problems come from doing unconstitutional things.
Yeah.
Yet we want to limit fixing them by the Constitution
Yeah.
is is a tough one, you know?
Yeah, I get it. We have a nation that I mean, take Afghanistan, for instance. I think the statistics, I think they were number 8 in the world before we went in with opium
Uh-huh.
transporting opium. And then they became number 1 after we got in. I saw that
Yeah.
statistic somewhere, and I'm like, that's funny. They
Yeah.
got worse when or better at that when
And
we got over there.
I remember during the war, the beginning of the war over there, one of the things was let's destroy the opium production, right? But I don't recall them ever taking and using our artillery to destroy the opium fields. In fact, they did their best to avoid doing that. So what's that tell you?
Yeah, we have like you said, we have unconstitutional issues,
Yes.
and we can't use the Constitution to fix them. So,
Now, what
uh,
we can do is return to following the Constitution, and we'll deal with these extra constitutional issues by getting rid of the organizations that proffer them, right?
yeah,
And if we go back to actually following the Constitution, we won't have a $38 trillion debt. In fact, we'll have a surplus like you wouldn't believe because
yeah,
the federal government won't be doing diddly squat.
wow,
Of course, we'll have a lot of unemployed people around the Washington, D.C., Maryland, Virginia area, but that's
um,
okay. One of my
yeah, that's
suggestions
okay.
was
They
was
they they
take
made
up
their
and
money.
moved if we moved the District of Columbia to the Kansas City area, half of it on the Missouri side and half of it on the Kansas side, right?
Yeah,
Right? Imagine
yeah,
what would happen instantly.
oh yeah,
And Maryland and Virginia would no longer become the economic boom that they've had over the last 200 years. And all of a sudden, Kansas City on both states would start having the wealthiest areas in the
yeah,
country. You know,
yeah. And people be
that tells you
flocking
something's
there,
wrong.
and yeah,
Tells you
yeah,
something's wrong.
yeah. Something's definitely wrong. Well, sir, it's been a pleasure talking to you, but tell people what uh does basically did you change you said you changed your responsibilities. So let the people know what you can offer them because you do classes and that kind of thing for
Yes,
organizations and people. Also, let's
yes.
talk about that for a minute.
If you're one of our current instructors, you guys are in upstate New York, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
If you're in New York or any of the northeastern states, give me a call at 302-745-2478 or email me at Larry at theamericanview.com and I will do everything I can to help you grow your ministry of teaching the Constitution while I'm growing mine because I'd let mine go for a couple of years while I ran the organization. So I'm pretty much starting over again. At least I have a
Wow.
big email list, right? Um, and if you're not one of us already, I invite you to go to theamericanview.com. Take the online course if there's no instructor in your area. Learn what our government's supposed to be doing. There's a wealth of knowledge on that website, and it's well worth any money you spend to get this information in your brain. I mean, when I first took our course, it cost me $150. I put off my electric bill that month to take the course because I didn't have the $150. It was the best investment I ever made. I caught up on the electric bill the following month, actually 2 months, because I added $75 to my bill every month for 2 months. It's worth doing something like that or borrow it from a friend. It is, it will change your life. It'll change your whole outlook. When you watch the news, you'll see things like you never saw them before. And you'll laugh watching the news instead of getting mad. Now, you'll get mad at
Exactly.
some silly things like politicians saying we've got to save our democracy because you'll know that we don't have one of those.
We don't have a democracy. It's funny because I had a friend. He was uh, a Vietnam vet,
Uh,
and no, Korean War. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he said that. Yeah, back in the day, I did a job for him. So so anyway, he says we were in a movie theater, all of us soldiers, in the movie theater, and we see tanks, and someone throws a grenade, and the tank goes this way, and we all just die laughing because we know, but people in the audience, they have no idea what we're laughing at. because
Right,
they knew a grenade did nothing to a tank, you know.
right.
So,
At
but
best,
the
it would
people,
blow the tracks loose.
yeah, yeah. So, but the people sitting there, like, what are they laughing about?
Yeah, yeah,
So I thought that
yeah.
was
And
funny.
by the way, if you're not interested in learning this stuff for yourself, or maybe you already think you know it all, and that's great. I'm not going to here tell you you don't, but you probably don't. Um, if you just believe that what we're doing is a good thing, there's a donate button on the website. Help us keep doing what we're doing.
Absolutely.
There's no ministry out there that operates without money.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
so
That's right.
contribute to this one. Contribute to anyone that does what you believe in.
Yes,
Whether that
sir.
be Isaac's church, whether that be Institute on the Constitution, whatever you truly believe in, give to it. Make the world a better
Yeah.
place.
Yeah. Yeah, because we're not funded by people. We're funded by individuals, not
Yes. We
corporations,
don't
and
get government
uh,
grants.
exactly. Yeah,
And we
no
wouldn't
grants
take one
here.
if they gave it to us.
Yep, exactly. Because there's strings
There's
all the
always
time.
strings.
So we are in the middle of remodeling my basement to have a little more room for my fellowship group that we meet on Sundays. When we get that situated, probably another month or two,
Uh-huh.
because we're going slow because I work a full-time job. It's tough, but we want to get into, we were talking before about you possibly coming up and spending a day or
Correct.
a Zoom meeting with
Yeah.
to uh, do the course with you.
Yep.
I don't think there's anybody in this area. I'm not sure, uh, but we'd like to have you do it if
Well, there
possible.
you go. I'd be more than
You
happy to do
know,
that. And
yeah,
all I ask is that you cover my expenses to come up there and place to stay
absolutely,
and some food in my belly and whatever else you want to give me. I'm not going to refuse, but I don't care what it is. You know.
absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, so we're probably looking at like springtime or something along those lines. So,
Yeah, I
but
don't
we
think I
will
want to
talk.
drive back up there in this kind of weather.
No, no, no. We got like 18 inches. We haven't gotten that in a while. I will say
I
that.
love you, brother, but
You
I
know,
ain't driving that through that to get there.
that's not enough love there.
Yeah.
There's no amount that love for that, right? Well, listen, brother, I really appreciate you coming and spending a little time with us, and we're grateful for you. We can always call on you to, break down some things that we may think some fiction, and we separate the fiction from nonfiction with you, and we appreciate you. We love you, and you're a good brother in the Lord, and just a nice guy. How about that? How about just being a nice person these days? You
Hey, I
know?
try. I try. Some people make it difficult, but I try.
Exactly. Exactly. So,
And I
sir,
guess I probably make it difficult on my wife to be a nice person once in a while too. So forgive me,
no,
dear.
well, the wives always get, they
Yeah,
get our true self, who we really are, right?
you
So,
got that
so
right.
we dump on them, and then
And we're
they say, "Why
blessed
you
that they
yelling?"
love us anyway.
Then they love us anyway. Yeah. Well, thank God for that. Thank God for you. And well, listen, you guys, you know what the all of his information. He's laid that out for you, the website, the phone
Yes.
numbers, you know.
Go to
So
theamericanview.com.
yeah, absolutely. All right, brother Mayo, we really appreciate you. So we're gonna let you go. All right. Have a good night and
God
stay
bless you.
warm. All
I
right,
will.
God bless.
Bye bye.
All righty.